Improving Japan's trade balance through stabilization of resource prices. Japan's trade balance for the first half of FY 2023. April to September was in the red of 2,718.3 billion yen after subtracting imports from exports. This represents a 75% reduction in the deficit, compared to the same period last year. This improvement was due to a lull in resource prices, which led to a decrease in imports. The trade balance for the first half of the previous fiscal year, FY 2022, was a deficit of 10,907.4 billion yen. This was the largest half-year deficit since fiscal 1979, due to soaring resource prices and the weak yen. In addition, the trade balance for September 2023 was a surplus of 62.4 billion yen. This was the first time in 3 months that we were in the black. Osaka University and nuclear fusion startups challenging a new energy future. This article talks about Osaka University and several fusion startups, Japan, USA, and Australia working together to research fusion technology. Although each of these companies uses different fuels, they all aim to utilize Osaka University's facilities. Osaka University has established a joint research department with Blue Laser Fusion BLF in the United States, which was founded by Nobel Prize in Physics winner Shuji Nakamura and others. By March 2028, this division plans to conduct basic research such as fuel verification, using lasers owned by Osaka University's Laser Science Institute. Additionally, EX Fusion, which originated from Osaka University, has established a joint research department with the Laser Science Institute. X-Fusion will utilize the laser Senju, which is scheduled to be operational by 2024, and will proceed with demonstration experiments by installing mirrors and other equipment necessary to accurately irradiate fuel with the laser. The nuclear fusion method used by these startups is the laser method. This is a method of causing a nuclear fusion reaction by irradiating fuel with a laser and compressing it. If the energy obtained from the reaction can be extracted, it will be possible to generate electricity through a nuclear fusion reaction. However, the types of fuels these companies employ differ. X-Fusion uses DT fuel, which is made up of deuterium-D and tritium-T. Meanwhile, BLF and HB11 Energy are considering the use of proton-boron fuel, composed of light hydrogen and boron. The article also points out that expectations for nuclear fusion are rising worldwide, and that funding is increasing. He also mentioned that Osaka University's presence in laser method research is rapidly increasing as nuclear fusion startups from around the world gather. Sapporo condominium market rising prices and discrepancy between actual demand. This article provides a detailed explanation of Sapporo's condominium market. In particular, it points out that the development of new condominiums in urban centers is increasing, and as a result, condominium sales prices are rising rapidly. Specifically, the price has increased by about 40% over the past 3 years, putting it out of reach for the average household. The article also states that this soaring price has led to more people buying properties for investment purposes or as second homes, and that the number of uninhabited condominiums is increasing. For example, development of luxury condominiums is progressing, such as Brands Tower Sapporo, Odori Park, completed by Tokyu Land Corporation, and One Sapporo Station Tower, currently under construction by Daiwa House Industry. However, these expensive condominiums are out of reach for ordinary households, and the majority of buyers are for investment purposes or second homes. And the number of customers from outside Hokkaido is also increasing. This has resulted in a discrepancy between condominium prices and actual demand. Furthermore, in Sapporo City, where the Hokkaido Shinkansen line is scheduled to be extended, condominium prices may rise further due to the rising cost of construction materials. This is because it takes several years to construct large-scale condominiums, and increases in material prices may be reflected in the prices of condominiums sold in the future. Under these circumstances, the supply of new condominiums is on the decline. According to Recruit, the number of new apartments supplied in Sapporo City was 2020 units in 2022, but it is predicted that the number may drop to 1,500 to 1,600 units in 2022. Employment support for the elderly, new establishment of transportation system by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. This article describes the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare's plan to establish a new transportation system to the workplace to support the employment of elderly people living in areas with inconvenient transportation. In recent years, an increasing number of elderly people are giving up work due to reasons such as surrendering their driver's license. So this new system aims to make commuting easier and encourage employment. The project will be entrusted to the National Silver Human Resources Center Business Association, and the cost will be borne by the government. It will begin as a model project in fiscal 2024, and will initially be implemented in dozens of locations, with plans to expand nationwide in the future. We use minibuses and other vehicles to tour the area, and allow users to get on and off in front of their homes. By using community centers and other facilities as workspaces, and consolidating them into one location, transportation becomes easier. The pickup and drop-off method is not specified, and is chosen flexibly according to local circumstances, such as using local taxi companies, or collaborating with day service providers. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare expects that working will increase opportunities for communication among elderly people, and help prevent loneliness and isolation. Many local governments are working to connect town halls, supermarkets, stations, etc. with community buses, and there is a need to differentiate between these existing systems. Recovery in the number of visitors to Japan, and regional disparities back to pre-coronavirus levels. This article reports on the recovery in the number of visitors to Japan, which is close to pre-COVID-19 levels, and the disparities in recovery between regions. According to the Japan National Tourism Organization (JNTO), the number of visitors to Japan in September 2023 was 2,184,300, reaching 96.1% of the same month in 2019. However, recovery has been slow in some regions, particularly in Tottori and Kagoshima, where the number of visitors to Japan has slumped to 30%. On the other hand, in places such as Kinagawa, onsen in Tochigi Prefecture, group tours from Asia have resumed, and the number of overnight guests visiting Japan is increasing. In addition, hotel companies are also busy securing staff in order to respond to the sudden recovery in travel demand. However, it has been pointed out that in order to get the overall recovery into full swing, it is necessary to strengthen the capacity to accept patients, and it is necessary to ensure both quantity and quality, especially in rural areas where recovery has been slow. This information is important for understanding the trends of the tourism industry post-COVID-19. Tourism pollution countermeasures government adjustment of railway fares in congested sections. This article describes the Japanese government's plan to introduce a new system that would change fares on busy railway lines, depending on the time of day and day of the week, with the aim of eliminating tourism pollution over tourism. In addition, bus fares will also be made flexible. Normally, government approval is required to increase railway fares, but if the purpose is not to increase revenue, there is a mechanism to obtain approval quickly through a simple review. The plan is to apply this to counter congestion, and the system is scheduled to begin operation this fall. Deregulation measures are also included for sightseeing buses, and there is a plan to omit the traditional approval procedures, and make it possible to flexibly set fares by simply submitting a notification. Differentiate between local residents and tourists, and make it easier to raise fares for tourists. Approximately 20 areas across the country will be selected as model areas, and demonstration experiments will be conducted based on plans created by tourism operators. Financial support from the government is also being considered, and some of it is expected to be reflected in the economic package to be compiled at the end of October. Increasing supply of cough medicines. Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare's measures and outlook. This article describes new measures taken by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare to address the shortage in the supply of cough suppressants and phlegm removers. Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare Keizo Takemi announced that the supply of these drugs is expected to increase by more than 10% by the end of this year compared to the end of September. This is the result of 8 pharmaceutical companies responding to the government's request to increase production. The supply and demand for cough suppressants and phlegm medicines has been tight due to the impact of the new coronavirus and orders to suspend operations due to scandals involving generic drug manufacturers. For this reason, in September, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare asked prefectures and medical organizations to limit prescriptions to patients for a minimum number of days as deemed necessary by a doctor.